My wife pretended to go on work trips, but was really cheating with a gym bro, then had her brothers kick me out of my own house. So I quietly took control of everything they valued and watched their entire world fall apart. That I'm a 34-year-old man, and for 5 years, Val, who is 32, and I shared an amazing 5-bedroom house. It was in one of those exclusive, gated communities, the kind with an impressive entrance, a pool in the backyard, and granite finishes everywhere. You know, the type of neighborhood where people showcase their luxury cars. We purchased it about 3 years ago. I'm a sales manager at a car dealership, not just a casual salesperson. I lead the entire sales team of 25 people and earn a good income. Val supposedly worked in pharmaceutical sales, or at least that's what she claimed, but more on that later. We first met at a charity gala 6 years ago. I was there representing my dealership, a mandatory event my boss insisted on, though there were free drinks. She was absolutely stunning and seemed to know everyone in the room, the kind of woman who makes you wonder how she's single and talking to you. We connected instantly. She was intelligent, driven, and for some reason, genuinely seemed interested in me. We dated for a year, then had a picturesque beach wedding, mostly funded by her parents. However, every relationship has its complications, and for me, that came in the form of her 2 brothers, Troy, 38, and Lou, 36. These guys always saw themselves as superior because they were ex-Navy SEALs, big, muscular men who never missed. An opportunity to make me feel inadequate for their precious sister. They constantly made comments like, just a car salesman, or challenged me to arm wrestling at family gatherings, typical tough guy behavior, all while earning 6 figures at private security firms. Troy is the larger one, about 6 feet 3 inches and 240 pounds, of pure muscle and attitude. The type who makes it clear he could easily overpower you, but chooses not to. Lou is slightly smaller, but somehow even more obnoxious, the kind of person who would tell Val, "You could do better," believing I couldn't hear him. They both drove ostentatious vehicles. Troy had a lifted F-350 with truck nuts, and Lou rode a custom Ducati that likely cost more than some people's homes. Anyway, I tried not to pay them too much attention. They didn't really impact my life. The first couple of years with Val were fantastic. We traveled to Thailand, advanced our careers, and bought our dream home. The whole perfect couple Instagram aesthetic. But about 8 months ago, things started to become suspicious. Val began working late frequently. Her phone was suddenly always face down or in her pocket. She'd startle as if she'd seen a ghost whenever I entered a room while she was texting. I mean, come on, the red flags were so obvious they might as well have been hitting me in the face. When I'd ask about her day, her stories never quite added up. Nothing major, but enough to make my instincts scream. For instance, she'd mention a lunch meeting at Russo's, but then the credit card statement would show a charge at a place clear across town. Or she'd claim to be with her colleague Jen, but then Jen would post pictures from a conference in Denver that same day. So, I began investigating further because I couldn't ignore my gut feeling that something was amiss. Initially, I just checked credit card statements, then scrolled back through her social media. 3 months ago, my neighbor Ellen texted me something odd while I was at work. "Hey, is everything okay with Val's job? Just saw her company car being repossessed." I acted nonchalant with Ellen, saying it was probably a mix-up, but inside, I was reeling. That night, while searching for our tax documents, I accidentally discovered a termination letter from her company. She had been fired for stealing company samples and selling them on the side, a felony worth approximately $43,000. The letter was dated January, 3 months ago. She had been pretending to go to work every day for 3 months. I was utterly confused and shocked. All I kept thinking was, why on earth would she do that? I didn't say anything to her about what I found. I decided to observe her actions closely. Perhaps she was lying about other things. Then, the universe seemed to intervene. 2 days later, I overheard Val on the phone in our bathroom. She thought I was still asleep, but I heard her crystal clear. "No, he doesn't suspect anything. Yeah, they'll be here Thursday. Don't worry, he's too focused on work to notice. Troy and Lou will handle everything." Instead of confronting her right then, which is likely what she expected from someone she perceived as weak, I decided to remain calm. I set up my phone to record audio in our bedroom and living room while I was at work. The nonsense I heard confirmed everything. She was plotting something with her brothers, talking about how I'd never see it coming and how they'd take care of everything. That Thursday, I told her I was heading to work, kissed her goodbye as if everything were normal, then parked down the street and waited. Around 10 o'clock in the morning, I watched Troy's massive truck and Lou's obnoxious motorcycle pull up to my house. Time to see what these clowns were really up to. I gave them 30 minutes, then drove back and pulled into our driveway. Walking to the door, I could hear laughter from inside. I unlocked it and literally froze in my tracks. Our entire living room was stacked with moving boxes, and I mean stacked. Troy and Lou were carrying more of my belongings down from upstairs, while Val was simply relaxing on our $5,000 leather sectional, directing them like a general, in her yoga pants and designer sunglasses. "What's going on?" I asked, keeping my voice utterly calm despite wanting to erupt. Val barely looked up from her phone, not even appearing surprised to see me. "Oh, you're early. We were hoping to be done before you got home." "Done with what?" "Exactly," I inquired, even though I already knew from the recordings. Troy dropped the box he was carrying, which contained all my limited edition Star Wars collectibles, and smirked. "Val has decided she needs a change." I stared at my wife. "Of 5 years. You're moving me out? Is this true?" She couldn't even look me in the eye, just kept scrolling on her phone like this was a minor inconvenience. "I've been unhappy for a while. I want to sell the house and start fresh. It'll be easier if you just go." I squared my shoulders and looked her directly in the eyes. "What? The house we bought together, that we both own? The house that's in my name since I paid 80% of the down payment." That's when Lou stepped up, getting right in my face with his protein shake breath. "Look, bro, don't make this harder than it needs to be. She wants you gone, so you go before we make you. Get the hell out of my face," I said, my voice steady and cold. "You can't just kick me out of my own house." But both brothers laughed at me, actually laughed. "He's really going to stop us, I'm afraid," Troy said to Lou, loud enough for the whole block to hear. "Nah, he's too weak for that," Lou replied. "Look at him. Might want to hand him a tissue before he bursts into tears." I looked at Val, waiting for her to say something to defend me. We'd been married for 5 years, for God's sake. Instead, she just sighed as if I were an annoying fly buzzing around. "Just accept it and move on," she said, still scrolling through her phone. "I'll have my lawyer contact you about the divorce." That's when something inside me just unlocked. It wasn't rage or a breakdown or anything dramatic like that, just pure, ice-cold calculation. I looked around at my life being packed into boxes by 2 muscular jerks who'd always disliked me, and the woman I trusted for years who couldn't even respect me enough to have a basic conversation about ending our marriage. I smiled slowly, which clearly unsettled them all. "You know what? I think there's been a misunderstanding here," I said, my voice eerily calm. I pulled out my phone and held it up. "I've been recording everything since I walked in, and I have more recordings from the last 2 days of you 3 planning this whole thing." Their smug expressions faltered for a second. "You're bluffing," Troy said, but I could hear the uncertainty in his voice. I played back a clip from yesterday, Val's voice saying clearly, "Once he's out, we'll sell the house and split the money before he knows what hit him." The color drained from her face. "You were spying on me?" "No, I was protecting myself from a wife who's clearly been planning to screw me over," I said coldly. "Now here's what's going to happen. I'm going to leave for a few hours. When I come back, I expect my house to be exactly as it was, with all my stuff back where it belongs. Or I take these recordings to my lawyer and the police for illegal eviction attempts." Lou stepped toward me aggressively. "You think we're scared of?" I cut him off. "The military contractor you work for has a very specific code of conduct that prohibits employees from engaging in potentially criminal activity. It would be a shame if these recordings found their way to your supervisor." His face turned white. Delta paid him 6 figures, and losing that job would devastate him. I turned to Troy. "And you're up for that promotion at Shield Solutions next month, aren't you? The one you told everyone about at Christmas dinner? Wonder what they'd think about this." I looked at Val last. "Oh, and darling, I know you lost your pharma job 3 months ago. The company car was repossessed last week. Our neighbor Ellen texted me about it while I was at work. She thought I knew. So what exactly have you been doing during those sales conferences?" Her mouth fell open. "How did you?" "I'll be back in 3 hours," I said, cutting her off, "and we'll talk about how this divorce is actually going to go down." I walked upstairs, grabbed my laptop, some important documents, and a change of clothes, along with the backup drive that had all my financial records. I already had copies stored securely elsewhere. I wasn't foolish. While gathering my things, I noticed Val's iPad was still on the nightstand. Something made me pick it up. Maybe the universe was finally giving me a break. She'd always used the same password for everything. Our anniversary date, not the most creative. When it unlocked, notifications from some messaging app I'd never seen before popped up. I opened it to find hundreds of messages between her and someone named Jake. The texts were disgusting, talking about their hotel meetups during her work conferences, planning their future together in Miami, and even joking about me being clueless. There were selfies of them together in hotel rooms, him shirtless with that classic gym bro look, her in lingerie I bought her for our anniversary. I scrolled back further and found messages from January where she was panicking about being fired from her company Pharmac for stealing samples. Jake had convinced her they could make good money doing it. Don't worry, babe, the car repo isn't a big deal. Your husband is too busy at work to notice you don't even have a job anymore. One of his texts read from 3 months ago. My hands were shaking with rage as I quickly forwarded screenshots of everything to my email. I also found their hotel reservation for tonight at the Hyatt downtown, a reservation she'd made with our credit card while pretending to go to a sales conference. I put the iPad back exactly as I found it, finished gathering my things, and headed for the door with a whole new understanding of just how deep her betrayal went. Don't even think about touching anything else of mine, I called out as I headed for the door. I've cataloged everything valuable in the house with photos and serial numbers. I walked out to my car, put my stuff in the trunk, and drove away, my mind racing and feeling my whole life collapsing. Everything I built, I lost that day. I tried to maintain composure. At the end of the day, you have to deal with life no matter what. As I pulled out of the driveway, I could see them frantically arguing through the window of my house. I checked into a hotel downtown, sat on the king bed, and made one call, just one, to a man named Mark. He's my mentor and the owner of our dealership chain. The same Mark who'd been helping me set up a special investment fund for the past year. The same Mark who owned a real estate development company on the side and had said, "That neighborhood of yours is prime for luxury development. If you were to spot an opportunity there, I'll pay 30% above market value, cash." The call lasted 12 minutes. That's it, just 12 minutes to completely dismantle my soon-to-be ex's plans. I called my bank and froze our joint accounts, not closing them as that could be seen as financial abandonment during divorce proceedings, but freezing them pending a suspicious activity investigation. I transferred half of our savings to my personal account that she didn't have access to, completely legal as long as I disclosed it during divorce proceedings, which I planned to. Then I called American Express and reported my card as compromised, requesting new cards for my accounts. Only removing her as an authorized user due to suspicious charges I didn't authorize. They overnight shipped new cards to the hotel. When I was done, I sat there in silence in that hotel, still feeling enraged about the texts I saw between her and that random man, Jake. I couldn't let it go. I knew where she was planning to be. The Hyatt downtown. I grabbed my keys, drove over, and parked across the street like a man with unfinished business. Sure enough, just before 9 o'clock in the evening, she pulled up in her usual yoga pants disguise, this time with Jake sliding out of the passenger seat as if he owned her. They walked into the hotel lobby, all cozy, laughing like teenagers. I took photos from my car window, clear, incriminating, time-stamped. One showed her kissing his cheek, another showed her handing over the room key card, and the final one was them entering the elevator together. Game, set, match. 4 hours later, I drove back to the house. When I pulled up, I noticed Troy's truck was gone, but Lou's bike was still there. I walked in to find Val frantically cleaning and Lou moving boxes back upstairs. The look on their faces was priceless. "You're back early," Val said, suddenly trying to sound sweet. She'd changed into one of my favorite dresses of hers, hair done, makeup fresh. "Where's all my stuff?" I asked coldly. "We're putting everything back, just like you asked," she said, walking toward me with her arms out for a hug. I stepped back. "Don't touch me." "Where's Troy?" Lou cleared his throat. "He had to get back to work. But look, man, we were just trying to help Val. Maybe we all got a little carried away." "A little carried away?" I repeated, feeling my eye twitch. "You tried to illegally evict me from my own house." Val's eyes filled with tears. "Nate, baby, I was emotional and not thinking straight. I should have talked to you. We can work this out." I almost laughed. "Now you want to work it out? After I caught you? After I have evidence of you planning to sell my house out from under me? After you lied about losing your job? After your brothers threatened me?" "I didn't lose my job," she stammered. "That's a misunderstanding. Ellen saw the company car being repossessed, Val. She has a photo of it on her phone. Want me to call her over here right now?" Lou tried to step in. "Look, maybe we should all take a day to cool off." "You should leave," I said, not even looking at him. "She's my sister, man. I'm not just going to get the hell out of my house," I roared, finally letting some emotion break through. "Before I call the police and have you removed." Lou looked at Val, who nodded slightly. He grabbed his jacket and left, the motorcycle roaring to life a minute later. Once we were alone, Val tried a different approach. "Nate, I know I've made some mistakes, but you're making a bigger one right now," she said, her voice dropping to that seductive tone she used when she wanted something. "We can fix this. We've been together 5 years. Don't throw that away over one bad day." I just stared at her. "One bad day? Is that what you call planning to steal everything from me? Lying about your job, having your brothers threaten me? I never told them to threaten you, she insisted. I have recordings that say otherwise, I replied. Now, I'm sleeping in the guest room tonight. Tomorrow morning, we're going to discuss divorce terms. I suggest you call a lawyer. Her face hardened. You're making a huge mistake. You think you're so smart with your recordings and your threats? You're nothing without me. You'll be begging me to come back within a month. I smiled, thinking about my call with Mark. We'll see. When I went upstairs to the guest room, I found it had been completely emptied. All the furniture was gone. They'd clearly planned to use this room to store my stuff temporarily. Where's the bed that was in here? I called downstairs. We moved it to make room for your things, Val replied hesitantly. And where is it now? Silence. I walked back downstairs to find her texting rapidly on her phone. Telling your brothers to come back? I asked. She jumped. No, I was just checking something. Where's the guest bed, Val? She couldn't meet my eyes. Troy took it to his place. He needed a new one, and I told him he could have it. I nodded slowly. So, you were giving away my furniture before I was even out of the house. It's our furniture, she snapped. Not anymore, I said, walking to the living room and grabbing my car keys again. I'll be back tomorrow morning. Don't touch my stuff. Where are you going? She demanded, following me. To sleep somewhere where people aren't plotting against me. I replied, walking out the door. Back at the Regency, I ordered room service and sat there waiting for Mark to call back. When my phone finally rang around 9 o'clock in the evening, I answered on the first ring. It's all set, Mark said without preamble. My lawyers have drawn up the paperwork. The offer is $950,000 for your 85% share, 30% above market value as promised. We can close as early as tomorrow if you're ready to sign. I'm ready, I said. And the other part? Mark chuckled. Construction crews are already on standby. The moment the deed transfers, we start demolition. I've got 6 luxury townhouses planned for that lot, all pre-sold at $650,000 each. Your soon-to-be ex can enjoy watching her dream home get bulldozed. Perfect, I said. Send the paperwork over tonight. I'll sign everything first thing in the morning. You know, Mark said before hanging up, I always knew you had steel in you, Nate, just never knew how much until now. I slept better that night than I had in months. The next morning, I drove to work as usual. I didn't tell Val where I was going, just left while she was still sleeping. At the office, I signed all the paperwork Mark's lawyers had sent over, officially selling my 85% share of the house to Mark's development company. Around 10 o'clock in the morning, I looked out my office window on the 15th floor and saw them all standing in the parking lot. Val, Troy, Lou, all 3 looking up at the building. They looked different, not smug anymore, more like absolutely terrified. My phone was blowing up. Val had called about 60 times since last night. The text preview said, please talk to us. You can't do this. I'm begging you. But I could, and I did. I let them wait in the parking lot for about 2 hours before I went down. Val was pacing back and forth, makeup smeared from crying. Lou was sitting on a parking block with his head in his hands, and Troy was arguing with a security guard who wouldn't let them into the building. The moment I pushed through the doors, Val rushed toward me. What did you do? She demanded, eyes red. I just stared at her coldly. Do what exactly? I asked. You sold our house. Troy stepped forward, veins bulging in his neck. Correction, I said calmly. I sold my portion of the house to an investor, which I have every legal right to do. Maybe you should have read the paperwork before trying to throw me out. Here's what those idiots didn't know. When we bought the house, I set up an LLC that technically owned the property, with me owning 85% and her 15%. The agreement, which she signed without reading carefully because she was too excited about the pool, clearly stated that either of us could sell our portion without the other's consent. So, when Mark called me back last night with his offer, I accepted immediately. He bought my 85% share at 30% above market value, $950,000 cash. No inspection needed. The paperwork was processed digitally by midnight. You can't just sell the house from under me. Val was screaming now, mascara running down her face. I didn't sell the house, I said, unmoved by her tears. I sold my share to an investor. You still own your measly 15%, but Mark now controls the majority share, which means I decide what happens next, said Mark, walking up to join us. He's 6 feet 4 inches, a former college football player in his 50s, but still as imposing as hell. And what I've decided is that the property will be completely demolished starting next week. We're putting in a 6-unit luxury townhouse development. Construction crews arrive Monday. Anyone still living there needs to vacate by Sunday. Val's face went from angry to horrified in seconds. Demolished? You can't be serious. That's our home. It's real estate, Mark corrected her. and now it's my real estate. I've been looking to develop in that neighborhood for years. Troy stepped forward, trying to use his size to intimidate Mark. You can't just. Mark cut him off. Actually, I can. The LLC agreement your sister signed gives the majority shareholder full authority over property decisions. I own 85% now, but I'm a reasonable man. I'm offering a $5,000 relocation stipend if the house is empty by Sunday. After that, I start deducting damages and delay costs from her 15% share. Troy turned to me, his face red with anger. You pathetic coward. You planned this, didn't you? No, I said firmly. You three planned this. I just changed the ending. Lou tried to grab my arm. We need to talk about this like men. I yanked my arm away. Don't touch me. Ever. And we're done talking. Val tried a different approach, her voice suddenly soft and pleading. Nate, please, we can talk about this. I made a mistake. Where am I supposed to go? All my things are there. I laughed, actually laughed in her face. Well, you've got brothers with trucks who are great at moving boxes, I replied. I'm sure they'll help you figure it out. Maybe they can move you into their places since they were so eager to move me out of mine. Troy tried to step up. Listen, here, you piece of. I cut him off. No, you listen. Touch me, and you're going to jail for assault. This is all being recorded, and there are witnesses. Try me. He backed down immediately. These tough guys always do when they realize they can't use their muscles to solve the problem. I turned and walked back inside. Through the glass, I watched them argue with Mark for a while before security finally escorted them off the property. The cherry on top, Mark's security guy was even bigger than Troy, and the look on that jerk's face when he had to back down was priceless. Back in my office, I leaned back in my chair and breathed deeply. Phase 1 complete. Time for Phase 2. I pulled out the folder I'd been compiling for the past 3 months, all my evidence neatly organized, photos of Val and Jake entering hotels, screenshots of their text messages I'd recovered from our shared cloud account, bank statements showing the $2,000 weekly withdrawals, copies of the termination letter from Pharmac detailing her theft of $43,000 in pharmaceutical samples. I'd even called Pharmac posing as a potential employer doing a reference check, which led to a very illuminating conversation with their HR director about why exactly Val had been let go. Turns out, they were still building a criminal case against her. Looking through it all again made my blood boil. The sheer scale of her betrayal was almost impressive. Losing her job for stealing, lying about it for months, cheating with Jim Bro Jake, spending our money on who knows what, and now trying to kick me out of my own house. I called my lawyer and asked her to come to my office. Bring the divorce paperwork, I said, and we might need a criminal attorney on standby too. That night, I moved to an even nicer suite at the Regency, froze our joint accounts, canceled any credit cards she was an unauthorized user on, and met with the ruthless divorce attorney I'd already consulted, a woman who specializes in cases involving infidelity and financial fraud. Oh, and Mark? He's already got demolition crews lined up to level the entire house, with plans to turn our 5-bedroom family home into 6 luxury townhomes selling for $650,000 each. Construction would start Monday at 7 o'clock in the morning sharp, and he specifically requested they begin with the loudest possible work. When I returned to the house briefly to collect more of my stuff, Val was waiting for me, looking desperate. She'd clearly been crying for hours. Can we please talk? She begged as I walked past her to the stairs. Nothing to talk about, I replied. You need to be out by Sunday. Where am I supposed to go? My parents live in Florida. Not my problem, I said, gathering my clothes and electronics. Maybe ask your boyfriend Jake if you can move in with him. Her face went pale. What are you talking about? I pulled out my phone, scrolled to the photo I'd taken at the Hyatt, and turned it to face her. It showed her and Jake entering the hotel, his hand all over her laughing up at him. Pharmaceutical sales conference. I asked coldly. She started sobbing. It's not what it looks like. It's exactly what it looks like, I replied. You've been unemployed for months, lying to me daily, cheating on me with some gym rat, and planning to steal my house. Did I miss anything? She collapsed onto the couch, face in her hands. I was going to tell you about the job, she mumbled. I was embarrassed. Save it for your lawyer, I said, zipping up my bag. Oh, and speaking of lawyers, you might want to get a criminal attorney too. Pharmac knows about the stolen samples. Her head snapped up. How did you? I know everything. Val, and it's all documented, every last detail. I was already gone. It's been 2 weeks since I left Val crying in what used to be our living room, and wow, has it been satisfying. True to his word, Mark had demolition crews show up Monday morning at 7 o'clock sharp, with jackhammers, bulldozers, and wrecking equipment. According to my neighbor, who's been sending me videos, Val was still moving her stuff out when they arrived. She begged for more time, But Mark was there personally and simply said, "You've had ample warning. Work begins now." The crews waited until exactly 8 o'clock in the morning, then started work regardless, beginning with the pool demolition while she frantically packed her designer clothes and shoes. The foreman accidentally cut the water main, leaving her with no running water. Oops. By Tuesday afternoon, the place was completely unlivable. Half the roof was gone, no working utilities, noise and dust everywhere. Val finally left, apparently moving in with her parents since both Troy and Lou mysteriously couldn't accommodate her. So much for family loyalty when it actually requires sacrifice, huh? Remember when I mentioned freezing the joint accounts and canceling her credit cards? Well, Val tried to use her Amex Black card to book a suite at the Ritz-Carlton and got declined in front of everyone at the front desk. That's when she discovered all the financial changes I'd made. The next day, Troy and Lou showed up at my CrossFit gym. They tried to corner me by the weight rack, but I was ready. I'd warned the owner the day before that they might show up, and he had 3 trainers, all former MMA fighters, keeping an eye out. The moment they started getting aggressive, the trainers moved in, and the gym security cameras were recording everything. "Let me make something crystal clear," I said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Your sister committed fraud and theft during our marriage. She was fired from her job for stealing drugs, which is a felony. She cheated on me for months. Then, she and you two attempted to illegally evict me from my own house. You threatened me and tried to intimidate me. I have all of this documented. The police have been notified. What I did in response was completely legal and justified." When Troy tried to grab my shirt, one of the trainers immediately stepped between us. "Touch him and you're going to jail," the trainer said. "We've got cameras everywhere and witnesses." Lou, trying to salvage their reputation, muttered something about handling this another way. I just laughed. "Go ahead, try something else. Your sister's already staring down possible criminal charges. Want to keep her company? And I'm sure your employer would be thrilled to hear how you're out here threatening people and trying to pull off illegal evictions." They weren't used to being challenged, especially not by someone they'd always dismissed as a car salesman. Their faces showed pure shock at this version of me, the one who wasn't intimidated, who pushed back harder than they came at me. "This isn't over," Troy said as they finally backed away. "Actually, it is," I called after them. "It was over the moment you underestimated me. Now get the hell out before I call the cops." After they left, several gym members came over to high-five me. One guy, a corporate lawyer, handed me his card. "If you need additional legal counsel, call me." That was badass. My lawyer tells me the divorce will be heavily in my favor given the evidence we have. Val's lawyer quit after seeing the mountain of evidence we presented. Turns out her lawyer was actually just her cousin who had gone to law school but failed the bar exam twice. She's now struggling to find anyone willing to represent her given the financial fraud and potential criminal charges. As for me, I found a stunning penthouse apartment in the most secure building in the city. I'm hitting the gym 6 days a week and focusing on rebuilding. I've never felt more clear-headed or determined. The most unexpected development has been at work. Mark was so impressed with how I handled everything that he's offered me a position as vice president of strategic investments at his firm, a massive promotion with a 7-figure salary and equity. So yeah, 3 months have passed since my world exploded and reformed into something better. The divorce proceedings are moving along swiftly, with court dates set for next month. My lawyer says it's one of the most lopsided cases she's ever seen in terms of evidence. The demolition of the house was completed in just 10 days. Mark's crews worked overtime to clear the lot, and construction on the new townhomes is already well underway. The foundation is poured, framing has begun, and pre-sales are through the roof. I drive by occasionally just to see the progress, and yes, to savor the victory a little. Val's life has continued its spectacular downward spiral. Last week, Pharmac officially pressed charges against her for the theft of samples. She was arrested on a Tuesday morning, spent 36 hours in jail before making bail, and is now facing felony charges that could result in serious jail time. Her parents called me, begging me to speak to the company about dropping the charges. I almost laughed. "You raised a daughter who lied, cheated, stole, and tried to destroy me," I told her father. "And now you want my help? Where was your concern? When she was planning to throw me out of my own house? When she was stealing from me? When she was sleeping with another man?" He tried to argue that family matters should stay private and that everyone makes mistakes. "This wasn't a mistake," I replied coldly. "This was a calculated plan to betray someone who loved and trusted her. Actions have consequences. It's about time she learned that lesson." As for her brothers, they faced their own reckonings. The video from the gym incident reached Troy's employers through an anonymous tip, not from me, honestly. Last I heard, he was placed on unpaid leave pending an investigation into his pattern of threatening behavior. Lou's been laying low, but according to mutual friends, he's been passed over for a promotion he was banking on. Sometimes I think about how different things might have been if I hadn't noticed those inconsistencies in her stories, if Ellen hadn't texted me about the car, if I hadn't found that termination letter or checked our bank statements. I would have been completely blindsided when they tried to kick me out. Instead, I was ready. A month ago, I ran into Troy at a gas station. He saw me before I saw him and ducked away. The man who once towered over me, threatening and intimidating, now couldn't even make eye contact. To anyone going through something similar, trust your gut when things don't add up, and don't be afraid to do your own detective work. Being underestimated can be your greatest advantage. Use it wisely. The weak man they try to break. He wasn't just stronger than they thought. He was stronger than even he knew.